Hello, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the 8D8D podcast. My name is Dingus Reviews, and today we're going to be talking about the death of Mr. Peanut. But first, as always, an ad read. This podcast is not sponsored by SodaStream Sparkling Water Maker. I'm going to look up the real name. Oh, the SodaStream's Fizzy Sparkling Water Maker Black with CO2 and BPA-free bottle. Now, a few major things have happened over the past few months for me that have led to a slight spiral of depression. But if I had to pinpoint one thing to blame it on, it would be the SodaStream Fizzy Sparkling Water Maker. Now, on the one hand, it works great. It makes fresh sparkling water at the push of a button, and you can put in any freaking water flavoring thing in there you want. It doesn't have to be a SodaStream brand. You can put in the Jelly Belly Tutti Frutti water flavor. That's real. And for 2 hours solid, I would just have this uncomfortable feeling after having some SodaStream fizzy sparkling water. And I would get some looks from my coworkers from the incredible amounts of burping I was doing. And since everybody knows that correlation implies causation, then I can safely say that SodaStream Fizzy Sparkling Water Maker gave me depression. So thank you. SodaStream, if you're listening, then heck off. Unless you want to sponsor me, in which case I might change my mind. So now with the bills paid, let's just dive right in with the death of Mr. Peanut. I have listened to too many podcasts that try to be atmospheric, so I won't be doing that anymore unless I think it's funny. So it all started with a tweet that I read on the 7th of December in 2020. Now, my memory isn't the best, but I believe it was about 11:07 a.m. on the Twitter web app that Mr. Peanut tweeted, "Allow me to reintroduce myself. Goodbye, Peanut Jr. Hello, Bartholomew Richard Fitzgerald Smith." Now let's just pause for a moment. Do you know who Peanut Jr. is? Do you know who Bartholomew Richard Fitzgerald Smith is? Nope, I don't either. And it made me mad. This is completely just begging the question. And it's a pet peeve of mine, just begging the question, just making some sort of vague statement and then waiting for people to be like, "What? You're so random, LOL. Tell me more," basically. It forced me to remember that this was calling back to the stunts that they were trying earlier last year in 2020, where it was a little bit funny at the time, but it's also corporate marketing, so I wanted to block it out of my memory, I guess, and forgot all about it until this tweet. And this is the real reason that I've been having trouble making content recently. Not the SodaStream, no. Mr. Peanut is the one who killed my enthusiasm. Alright, so let's rewind to give you the full context of what's going on. There used to be a wiki that wonderfully summarized this. And yes, there was a wiki for this Mr. Peanut lore. And it was a great summary, and I was prepared to plagiarize it, but guess what? The wiki was banned. I want to say I did some thorough, super cool investigative journalism and figured out why it was banned, but I really don't. I don't care that much. But if you go to the wiki, it says the wiki has been closed. So I'm going to assume that was banning. Instead, we have something much better. A CNN article titled "Mr. Peanut is dead for some reason." It's a little cringy because I can't really tell if it was a paid advertisement or somebody thinks they're a little bit funnier and cooler than they are. So when I quote the article, I'm going to use a voice that conveys this idea. Here's the article. "Mr. Peanut, the 104-year-old mascot of the Planters Snack Food Company, has died after sacrificing himself in what appears to be a dramatic road accident. Sounds like the perfect setup for a Super Bowl commercial." So, first off, nobody asked and nobody cares, and nobody asked and nobody cares. But you heard that right. In January 2020, in a Super Bowl commercial, Mr. Peanut died. He drove off a cliff because I believe he'd been drinking, and he was hanging off a tree branch with Matt Walsh and Wesley Snipes, who I feel like I should know. The article goes on. "The ad premise and Mr. Peanut's death leave a lot of questions. Does Mr. Peanut have a rich, haunted backstory that would lead him to such a decision? We already know he's a war veteran. Perhaps such self-sacrifice is in his nature. What a twist that would be. The monocle bourgeoisie icon contained multitudes all along. I refuse to believe that contained multitudes means something. It's undiluted pretentiousness. Also, I guess Mr. Peanut is a freaking war veteran because he was on a poster in World War II holding a gun. One of my favorite parts about this stupid commercial is this little note from the Wikipedia page of Mr. Peanut. Quote, planters suspended the campaign shortly after the 2020 Calabasas helicopter crash, which resulted in the death of everyone on board the flight, including former NBA player Kobe Bryant on January 26th. End quote. It's just a little bit funny to see a brand attempt the edgy style humor that the internet is it's all over the internet, but then a brand attempts it at almost the worst possible timing. It's a little uncanny. Anyway, so that commercial gets released early January, and then it airs in the Super Bowl, and then later in the Super Bowl, a second commercial airs, and it's Mr. Peanut's funeral. And in attendance are Mr. Kool Aid Man and the Kool Aid Man and Mr. Clean are there at the funeral, and Matt Walsh and Wesley Snipes, I think. And oh no, it's so sad. And the Kool Aid Man cries a single tear of Kool Aid juice, and it falls onto the mound of dirt where Mr. Planter's body is. And out of his corpse grows this plant. It blooms, and a little baby peanut appears, and they call him Baby Nut. And it was so clear that they were trying to go for this, oh, it's cute, which, by the way, was eerily, suspiciously close to the timing of when Baby Yoda was really took off in popularity. So it was really obvious that they were just capitalizing on the moment there. And that's not too far out of a theory that they were copying Baby Yoda stuff, because guess where they got the idea for killing off Mr. Peanut? The guy who made the commercial directly just said it was based on Iron Man's death. So, just shameless. And if you think about it, it's a little bit egotistical too, because guess who else died and then was resurrected? Baby Nut is in fact the second person who was resurrected. So I guess this makes him the second coming of Christ. And for the sake of the premise of that joke, we're going to ignore that there was in fact another person before Jesus that died and was resurrected in the Bible. Hashtag Lazarus is canceled. And if you think about it a little more, for those who are unfamiliar with the Bible, the second coming of Christ coincides with the end times. And Baby Nut was resurrected at the beginning of 2020. Guess what else happened in the beginning of 2020? So it really seems collectively as a society that this is the latest news in the Peanut universe that we remember, is that Baby Nut, if you remember anything about this whole campaign, it's like Baby Nut and then nothing else. But there's been stuff happening in the meantime, let me tell you. Almost immediately after Baby Nut was announced, they did this live stream on Twitter that was a 3D model, motion capture, Baby Nut, just walking around a room or something for 4 hours. They were taking suggestions, and so I guess he was dancing and doing like miming stuff, like the street mime stuff, and like dancing. I didn't care to watch more than 10 seconds of it, but it was a little uncanny valley. It was a little bizarre. Anyway, so their Twitter activity during this time period was off the freaking charts. There was plenty of content with Baby Nut, of course. They made a plush at some point, I guess. They also did that thing that brands do where they talk to each other. So Pop-Tarts Twitter was like, at Mr. Peanut, hey, are you okay? Mr. Peanut said, no, he's dead. Thank you for checking in, though. And that got 52,000 likes. I mean, it's funny on paper. It just takes away from it when it's a brand, a corporation doing this kind of thing. And they tweeted, one of their other most popular tweets, I combed through it, was just a tweet of Mr. Peanut saying, goober goober gaga. And that's it. And it got 21.2 thousand likes. So yeah, they tweeted like crazy about this for a while. And then they decided at some point that they were just done. They were done with Baby Nut. Immediately done. They introduced a new character named Bart. But this wasn't an entirely new character. This was in fact Baby Nut, but he had aged 21 years in 5 days or something stupid like that. I'm not sure if I would have wanted them to go the route where they covered the moody teen angst phase or the troublesome toddler phase or whatever they call it. Because on the one hand, it's stupid, but on the other hand, it's stupid. And they did a couple stupid premises with this idea. They had him drink his first beer, and that was not very notable. They did a Zoom call with the Kool Aid Man. Hey, remember Zoom call parodies that brands do because it's the pandemic? Hey, peak of comedy. The most notable thing that we learned from this is that the Kool Aid Man can only say, oh yeah. Bart speaks normal English, but Kool Aid Man just says, oh yeah? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I feel guilty that I think it's funny. I can't help it. Oh, and all the things that I talked about are half their tweets. And the other half is just them saying, that's nuts. That's nutty. Stupid nut jokes. It's just the official Twitter for nut jokes, I guess. That's their thing. And bandwagon humor, because they've done a bunch of tweets lately of the how it started and how it's going meme. Found out what WAP stands for. Wildly aging peanut. Haha, I'm so random. And in the latter half of 2020, they were pretty quiet until the faded tweet that started it all that I talked about in the beginning, where he says, goodbye Peanut Jr., hello Bartholomew Richard Fitzgerald Smith. If you thought that holidays were nutty, you haven't experienced the peanut aging process. By the way, you can just call me Bart. Hashtag nuttiest time of the year. See the nutty joke. And it just made me mad because at this point, Mr. Peanut is begging for attention. Mr. Peanut right now is that girl in high school that would post messages on Facebook like, oh, I guess I found out who my real friends are. There's a more polite way of saying this, but nobody asked, nobody cares. I've got my own problems to deal with. I don't want to hear goober goober gaga, alright? Imagine for a second that one of your most popular tweets is baby talk nonsense. As an experiment, I myself tweeted out goober goober gaga, and I only got 3 likes. See, Mr. Peanut, this is proof that if you didn't have your audience, your low-quality tweets would not get any attention, okay? Imagine your brand only getting popular because your mascot died. How sad, how tragic. I'm not mad, and I'm not gonna grab my keys in 5 minutes so I can go and drive my car with Matt Walsh and Lesley Snipes off a cliff. I'm not. And it does not beg the question of, why am I even talking about this? If I hate begging for attention, why am I giving planters attention? You see, you might think that me giving them just that much more attention is a bad thing. But if a small YouTuber like me is talking about it, then it is truly dead. You're talking about the guy who reviewed Dead by Daylight 3 years after its release. By the time I get to it, the meme is already dead. In a sense, we're all together at a funeral right now. This time for Mr. Peanut. No, what's the company called again? Planters. See how no one remembers the company now? It's just Mr. Peanut this, Mr. Peanut that. Now, as punishment, I was planning to call for a boycott of Planters peanuts. But I don't know if you noticed looking at the grocery store section with the peanuts, but Planters is really the only brand there. Your other choices are the store brand, which is a crapshoot, and the bulk food section, which is a crapshoot with worse chances. So there's no viable option. It's like a Comcast situation. Mr. Peanut has a monopoly here, which I don't know if you realize, but that's by design. Have you ever noticed who else has a top hat, a monocle, and a cane? Guess. It's the Monopoly Man, okay? It's been rigged from the start. We have to fight back. Planters is the 1%. So join me. Rise up. Let's eat the rich. That would have been a great blow line for a stand-up set. I gotta pat myself on the back for that one. Haha, I'm done talking about Mr. Peanut now. I know 2 months ago I announced I was going to talk about my reviewing philosophy in a podcast, but this peanut thing came up and it could not wait. But at the time, I put out a call for questions, any questions that you guys might have about my reviewing philosophy. I remember I got 2 questions, and one of them I can't find. I think the guy deleted it, but I'm pretty sure it was Carl Lucas. I invite everybody to point and laugh at Carl Lucas right now. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, the other question I got was on Twitter from Adam, or at Deluxe. I shouldn't say that on YouTube. How many times have you washed the green suit? I wash it probably every 3 times that I have it on, because I don't have it on for very long. I switched the ratio though when I did the Beautiful Bastards hair products video, because there was mustard in there, so I washed the mask 3 times until I couldn't smell mustard anymore. And thus concludes my podcast. Since you made it all the way to the end, I'm going to treat you with a little update on my channel and content creation and whatnot. I try to make it a rule for myself to not talk about my personal problems unless it's getting in the way of content creation, but it is right now. So I've been having some sleep issues lately. They were mild before, but ironically, after getting treatment for them, long story short, they're actually getting worse. So it's been kind of hard to work on videos. Basically, I can do the bare minimum of going to work, but once I come home, I'm just in a mental fog most of the time. It's like thinking through a straw. I don't know if anyone else has come up with that joke before, but I did all on my own, and I feel pretty proud of myself. I'm doing my best to work around it, but it's really hindering video production. So I'm on a bit of a mental health break, and I'm trying not to pressure myself too much into making more content. It feels like there's an end in sight with what's going on right now. Hopefully there is. But until then, yeah, production is a little bit slow, except for something like this, which was quote-unquote easy to do. I thought it would be easy to do, but there was a little bit of research that went into this, and at least I don't have to do, the usual editing and recording clips and things like that. Anyway, thank you for listening. I do appreciate it. See you next time. You're special, and I love you very much. Bye-bye now.